Welcome to another episode of the Daily Reset. We continue speaking about foundations, but I wanted us to add another layer. Sometimes when you are going through something, it's very easy for you to feel as though you are alone. I sat through the areas that I was working in today, the few patient charts that I was able to look at today, just looking for patterns and looking at what are some of those things that people struggle with. And then I decided to just go to the internet and look at what are the most searched phrases, and all of them have similar patterns. But then I decided to just narrow down to a few very commonly searched phrases. How to. The how to has all sorts of things. People are searching all sorts of things, but I narrowed down to how to overcome and see what else comes attached to that. And what you see on the screen is what came up. How to overcome social anxiety, procrastination, depression, fears, imposter syndrome, performance anxiety, burnout, stage fright. I went ahead and searched how to feel better, how to feel better when you are sick, how to feel happy, how to feel more awake, how to feel better about yourself, how to feel less tired, how to feel your feelings. And I think the biggest one, how to feel alive again. So that's just how to feel. I went ahead and added more. So how to feel more and see what comes. How to feel more awake. How to feel more confident. How to feel more energized. How to feel more awake without caffeine. How to feel more motivated. How to feel more awake in the morning. How to feel more full. I quite tried figuring out what that might be, the context when people are searching for that. How to feel more feminine. And of course, the last one, how to feel more alive. I think when we are working with these foundations, we are trying to solve emotional needs. We are trying to meet emotional needs. Because emotional needs are what give you security and certainty and stability, predictability, consistency, reliability. All these are anchored on your emotional needs. And I believe on each of these slides, that last line points to, especially these two, that last line points to what we are looking for. How to feel more alive. That's what we are looking for. Take this as an experiment for yourself. The next time you are at home and you have a strong craving to drink something sweet, before you drink it, go do a couple of push-ups or just walk around the block, just walk around the block. If you do something that generates energy, that craving goes away. And this is what happens where we need to generate more energy, where we need to create a way to feel more alive. We find an easy way to meet it by, most of the time, food, or go online and just you create some kind of variety, and it seems to meet the need, but the actual need you have is the need to experience more aliveness. That's the beginning of all the needs. You want to feel more alive. Sometimes being more alive means feeling happy, feeling connected. You want to feel more alive. You want to experience a bit more energy. You want to change your emotional state. The power to change your emotional state, so that if, for example, something happens and it makes you sad, you have the power to snap out of the sadness. Of course, we all learn from all these negative experiences, but you retain the power to determine how these negative experiences show up. How to feel more alive. That is what I believe that's what we are all looking for. How do I feel more alive? I want to succeed in my career so that I have freedom financially, freedom professionally, so that I can show up the way I want to show up. so that I can show up fully. I can experience the freedom. What does freedom feel like? Freedom feels like I'm fully alive, able to do whatever I choose to do. I want to go to the gym and become stronger. What does that do to me? It gives me energy, the energy to do whatever I want, the energy to show up stronger, to be more energetic, to be more engaging. What is that? To show up looking and feeling more alive. That is what we are looking for. So that the foundations, our foundations help us build this house of our life so that it is stable and reliable, and we are able to overcome the negative side, the negative emotions associated with the absence of each of these pillars. We will just look at these 5 for today. Focused goal pursuit. Focused goal pursuit is about overcoming directionlessness. I want you to think about any season in your life or even any recent experience when you felt directionless. How alive would you feel? Let's put it in the chat box. If you were directionless on a scale of 1 to 10, how much energy do you believe you would be expressing? How much energy would you show up with? How energetic would you feel when you are directionless, when you have no clear purpose, no clear aim? You are just drifting through the day, drifting through the week. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much energy? Put a number in the chat box. Select a number from 1 to 10. How much energy would you show up with? I see 2, I see 4, I see 1, I see 1, I see 5. That is very generous. When you are directionless, it's 4 and 5 are really on the higher end, like very, very generous. 3, 3, 3, 3. It feels like 3 because you are doing something else to meet that need. You have a genuine need to generate energy, but instead of generating energy, we find an easy way. And the easiest is whenever you find you have a strong craving for food and you're not necessarily hungry, you've just had lunch and then suddenly you are craving ice cream. What you are craving is a burst of energy. It's not the ice cream, it's not the sugar. It's a burst of energy that you're craving. Let me see further. 2, 2, 2, 4, 3. Yep. Tell me, look back in your own life. A time when you felt very directed, you had a clear aim, a clear goal, a clear project at hand, a clear pressing need that you needed to meet, and therefore you are pursuing a goal with a lot of focus. About how much energy were you expressing in that environment, in that circumstance, in that situation, in that project, in that pursuit? Give me a number. How much energy were you? James broke the energy meter. Sylvia 99997. Yep. 9, 10. So the funny thing is that most of the time people express that level of energy when there is a deadline. You should see people typing to complete a report when it's 20 minutes to the deadline. You will not find them on WhatsApp or on Facebook at that time. They are like this focused. And you see, that is, I see Charlene, a strong 10. It's I like it. So when there's an external reason, external pressure, then you feel alive. Do you enjoy it? Not necessarily. But are you alive? Yes. I tend to observe students, especially immediately before they finish exams, in the middle of exams, and immediately after exams are over, that even the way they walk around the university or college, the way they go to lunch, how quickly they switch from one area to another, they move with focus. Immediately after exam, you can actually see it in their body, the energy drops down. If you find yourself operating with low energy, check whether you actually have a clear aim. Are you intentionally relaxing? Then that's okay. If you're not intentionally relaxing, you shouldn't be intentionally relaxing on Tuesday at 9 a.m. But if you are, then that's okay. But if you're not intentionally relaxing, then it will be an issue of lack of clarity in terms of what you need to be doing, lack of direction. Let's look at another one. Unwavering resilience. Most of the time when you find yourself facing a project that has a significant amount of difficulty, it's a project that you've never participated in, there are so many people involved, so many moving parts, and you are tasked to be among the core team leading this project. What level of energy, just think of the last time that happened, you were part of a project that was of significant amount, just as big a project as you have been part of, and look back and see what level of energy do you believe most of the people that showed up, especially towards the conclusion of the project, what level of energy were people showing up with, especially yourself during that project? If you remember, it's a big project. It has many moving parts. It has a tight timeline, and you're coming close to the end of the project. What level of energy, what did you show up with? Were people showing up with? And this is not a question of whether you are enjoying the process or not. How much energy are you showing up with at that time? A couple of responses, then we can move. Are you in your chat box? Couple of responses. It's important for you to actually think back and look back and notice those patterns. I see 7, 8, 9, 9, 9. Yep. So the question is how can we create a similar level of need, of demand, of urgency, of importance in the areas of your life where nobody else will do that for you? You have to do it for yourself. But if you don't do it for yourself, you will know you will regret. If you don't develop the consistency of growth, being open to growing, if you don't develop your resilience, if you don't continually work in those few select, deep, important relationships for you, if you don't consistently and intentionally develop your self-awareness, you know that you will regret. But these things have no timeline. They have no deadlines. There is no external pressure. There is no day when you will feel like, oh, I have to improve my self-awareness by tomorrow before I meet the stakeholders, because you are the stakeholder, you are everything. What will it take for you to make that switch so that you make it as important? If you are employed and you work 10 hours, you add an extra hour to your day, and it's a formal hour. This formal hour is personal growth hour, and you take it as seriously as you take your employer's 10 hours. Your employer's 10 hours, most of the time, they don't compound. Sometimes you are in one job for a couple of years, you move on, and a lot of the things you do don't compound. But if you commit an extra hour so that your work day is no longer 10 hours, it's 11 hours. And that extra hour is not time for you to go on social media or to be distracted. You intentionally, consistently make it as important as the hour that you give to your employer. Because the hour you give to your employer gives you a salary. It gives you your living. The hour that you give to yourself, each hour you give to yourself every day is an hour invested in your destiny. It's an hour invested in making sure that you not only fulfill your dreams, but you go beyond fulfilling your dreams and actually actualize your destiny. Be able to live at a higher level than you are currently living, and therefore be empowered to be able to reach out and touch other people. What will it take for you to have a job description that has 2 or 3 extra lines? Your employer has a job description. You need 2, 3 extra lines. Those 2, 3 extra lines are dedicated to the special project called you. Special project you, which has a timeline that this project needs to have invested 365 hours a year for 5 years. 365 hours a year for 5 years, that is a PhD plus a postdoctoral fellowship. Because master's degree programs are 60 credit hours. If you do 365 hours a year, you've already completed a master's in personal development. In other words, your personal development, your self-awareness must be so much deeper. Your resilience must be so much better. Your goal pursuit, your directionality, the degree of your intentionality must be so much more magnified just because you did it consistently. The initial hours may not compound because you are learning your way. But once you create a repeatable system that is focused, clear, effective, you have key performance indicators for yourself, each of these hours will start compounding. If you decide to learn public speaking in 3 months, somebody who heard you at the beginning of the month listens to you at the end of the month and they can't believe it. Let me give you an example from my life. I committed in 2019 that for 5 years, I was going to speak impromptu without any written notes. And that will end at the end of this year, where I do not prepare scripts. I want to show up with ideas. I can have an outline of ideas, but that's it. And it became easier and easier and easier, such that right now, sometimes I take a topic and I just speak it out, record it, and then I want to look and see whether it actually has structure. I find so many places that I need to continue improving, but I can't believe how far I have come. So I have seen the power of compounding, being able to learn naturally to how to pace. Most importantly, being able to learn how to continue speaking in the moment. I don't have anything written, but most importantly, pay attention to what is going on in the audience. Pay attention to the kind of material I'm delivering. What kind of impact is it having? Do I need to slow down? Do I need to stop? Do I need to continue so that I make sure that I fully unpack this? I make mistakes day in, day out, but I continue with that project and I can't tell you how much progress I have seen. I was watching some of the older videos. If you commit 365 hours the rest of this year, you count the number of days remaining in the year. If you commit that number of hours and pursue personal development every single day, I promise you by November, December, you can't believe where you will be. There will be things that you say no to automatically. You don't have to think about it. Why? Because direction is no longer an issue. There will be obstacles which sometimes stopped you, but they no longer stop you. Reason why? Your mind has shifted automatically just because you did things on a consistent basis that grow you. Every young person, if you are anywhere below 45, I regard you as a young person who works in Africa. I have seen this work 100%. If you learn French, your opportunities multiply by more than 50% automatically. If you learn French, I have gotten people to learn 2 things I've seen work, literally work miracles for people. Learn software engineering or learn an extra language, especially French. I have seen people learn, they learn French and then suddenly there is a job in Sierra Leone, there's a job in Gambia, there's a job in Senegal, there are 29 African countries that speak French. There are only 24 countries that speak English. And the only reason why there's a big population of people that speak English is because of Nigeria and South Africa. But otherwise, you have more people in Africa that speak French. You have more companies in Africa that work in both English speaking, the Anglophone and Francophone countries. So this is the kind of mindset that I keep encouraging people that I work with. How can we just pursue growth that will compound, that will increase your opportunities, but most importantly, this growth, just because you make it consistent, it carries your other areas along with you. If you start learning French and it frustrates you to learn a new language, a new vocabulary, a new grammar, that mindset that allows you to learn something that doesn't have a teacher over your neck, you're doing it just by yourself, you are willingly doing it, it's that willingness spreads to all other areas of your life. If you become deep in one area, that depth starts to develop to spread to other areas. If you become disciplined in one area, the discipline spreads to other areas. If you become focused in one area, the focus spreads to other areas. These positive attributes are just like negative attributes. I've told you before that fear is so disrespectful. You invite it into your house, it gets into one room and then it goes into every room. That's the same thing with positive attributes. The reason you are building these foundations is because each of these foundations affects all the other foundations. If you develop a deep self-awareness, it will affect your resilience. It will affect your goal pursuit. It will affect your openness to growth. If you develop openness to growth, as you start learning, you start discovering things about yourself, it affects your awareness. It affects your relationships. As you develop your relationships, it affects your resilience. Each of these pillars affect the other. Therefore, one pillar, at the time when you're working on it, actually affects the negatives that are related to the other pillars. And that's what you want. That's the reason why we are pursuing it the way we are pursuing it. To make sure that we are intentionally seeking a greater level of aliveness, intentionally, so that you don't end up depending on sugar and fulfilling a sugar rush with seeking sweet stuff. Instead, you realize that you just need to find a way to feel more alive. How do you feel more alive? Read something or do something, especially. Find a physical activity that moves you. Question for you: do you know anyone that you know was depressed and they were physically active on a day-to-day basis? Do you know anybody that you know that they are depressed? You know, there are people who are depressed and they are on treatment, which if somebody has clinical depression, they need to be treated. But most of the time when people say, I am depressed, or let's use an alternative, I am stressed. Have you seen someone say they are stressed and look like they are stressed when they are physically working out on a consistent basis? They are going to the gym, they are walking, or they are jumping the rope, or they are doing push-ups and press-ups consistently. They are moving their body. Those two things cannot coexist together, because the core emotion, the primary emotion, is usually dependent on the state of energy you are in. If you are moving consistently, it means all these pillars are in one way or another contributing towards a positive state, so that you can feel more alive. You can feel more energized. You can feel more confident, more awake. Intentionality gives you the power to embody the identity. Embodying is giving physical stature, giving physical expression to the abstract ideas. The abstract idea of what your foundations are, so that they result in you being able to live at a higher state of energy. Being able to intentionally decide for yourself what level of energy you will operate at. So that it doesn't matter what happens, it will affect you, but you don't stay stuck in how it has affected you. You are able to move beyond how it has affected you. You continue to operate this week as the master of your focus. As the master of your focus, it's your job to wield your focus, to wield it like a sword, so that you can show up as a leader, a role model, and problem solver. I didn't realize that I had not brought back my video. You are the master of your focus. Are you the master? Were you the master of your focus yesterday? Were you the master of your focus yesterday on a scale of 1 to 10? Do not make assumptions. That's the agreement we continue to work with. Do not make assumptions about yourself, particularly about your identity and about your capacity. Sometimes we say no to things even before we try them because we make assumptions. It's time for you to do your declaration of intentionality. It's time for you to do your declaration of intentionality. You don't have to wait for me. You can always begin whenever you are ready. Some of these days I will not do it along with you. I would like you to do it on your own. Do your declaration of intentionality. In the past, I felt powerless. I allowed external forces and limiting beliefs to hold me back. Yet today, I am seizing back my power. Today, I am determined to direct my intentions, master my focus, and take command of my actions. I am determined to shape my reality with purpose. I am willing to carry myself as a leader, role model, and problem solver in all situations. I am determined to shape my reality with purpose. Today, I'm determined to direct my intentions, master my focus, and take command of my actions. Go ahead and do your daily reset. Please open your chat box. Open your chat box. With regards to the question of aliveness, that segment we've just spoken about, what is your reflection about it? Ideally, it's just what's in your mind, in your own words about it. As you continue doing your daily reset, please open your chat box, and today you will share from the line, I permit myself to. And the permission you give yourself, please make it related to the first segment we just shared. What do you permit yourself to experience? What do you permit yourself to feel? Please open the chat box as you continue with your daily reset so that you can give us your reflection. Make it a point to ensure that you share your reflection today. We have 22 daily resetters here today. What do you permit yourself to experience, to enjoy, to feel, to learn, to conquer, to notice? What is your intention today? What do you intend to be, to have, to know, to release, to magnify, to accomplish, to see, to hear, to sense, to infer, to clarify? And what's your focus today? Is it to move, to vibrate at a higher energy level, to connect, to be resolute, to focus, to amplify? What are you claiming today? Are you claiming more aliveness? Are you claiming the ability to be more awake without caffeine? I'm sorry. I should stop myself. What are you releasing? Apart from taxes and the housing levy, what else are you releasing? Apart from salaries, Sylvia, to your employees, what else are you releasing today? Okay, we have a couple of responses. Everybody, please put your reflection in the chat box. Put your reflection in the chat box. Wanjiko says, today I permit myself to be energetic. Scholastica says, I permit myself to be more full. It's, I do not know what that they mean by that. So Scholastica, what do you mean in your case? Gladys, today I permit myself to move. Esther, I permit myself to feel alive. Phyllis, today I permit myself to be fully alive. Sylvia, I permit myself to log personal development time as valuable work time. Isabel says, I permit myself to be open to learn. Someone needs to mute the microphone. James' reflection, James says, God gives me life, but how alive I feel is up to me. I cannot continue to feed my hunger with noodles. I will do more of the things that compound. And James says, I permit myself to feel alive. God gives me life, but how alive I feel is up to me. I cannot continue to feed my hunger with noodles. I will do more of the things that compound. Eunice says, today I permit myself to be energetic. Scholastica says, my focus is to create level of consistency. Wanjiko says, energy is an emotional state. I create my energy by motion. Absolutely. In fact, some people say that emotion is energy in motion, which is true. How you move determines how you feel. If you feel low, it is obvious, most likely you haven't moved. Except when we feel low, what do? When we feel low, we need energy, but that's when we lie on the couch. When we feel energetic, that's when we go out, which is paradoxical. When we are hungry, it's a lot of the times we are hungry for food, but sometimes we actually need a bit more energy, bit of movement. Rachel says, today I permit myself to be more positive. Fanny says, today I permit myself to be alive. Please add your reflections apart from the daily reset statements. Add your reflections. Charlene says, I do not crave the ice cream, the toffee, or something sweet. My body rather craves a burst of energy that can be achieved through movement. Absolutely. This is a practical insight that I hope everyone here takes away. That time, sometimes you go eat one full can of ice cream, but you don't feel like you've eaten anything. That's because it's not ice cream you need, it's movement. So no amount of ice cream is going, sometimes the only ice cream that suffices for you is all the ice cream that is in the house. You stop eating ice cream because you've run out of ice cream. That's because it is movement you need. Then after you move, you'll come back and maybe you'll just have a little bit of ice cream and you're good to go. Shalin says, I permit myself to show up at level 10. Isabel, focus to go through the BTK lessons. I presume you mean breakthrough lessons. Esther, an hour invested in myself is an investment towards my destiny. That's correct. Teresa, I permit myself to have deep self-awareness. Faith, today I permit myself to have me time as very important. This is the most important hour, and the salary for this comes in loads and loads. This is where you really sow. That hour to yourself every day, that's where you really sow, and you will reap according to how you sow. If you sow sparingly, you will reap sparingly. Frida says, an hour to my employer does not compound, but to myself, it has the compounding effect. Absolutely. Isabel, focus improvement of my time management. That's what she focuses on today. Jacqueline says, I permit myself to feel alive. Frida, today I commit myself to deep self-awareness. David says, today I permit myself to inwardly re-energize whenever I feel drained. That's a beautiful way of putting it. Inwardly re-energize whenever I feel drained. Eunice M says, investment in personal development compounds to my destiny. Teresa says, deep aliveness will be achieved through movement. There is power of compounding with repetition. I know that. I can tell you long stories about the power of compounding. I overcame my starter through repetition, purely repetition. I read one book out aloud until I knew that book almost word for word, but that's because I wanted to master those sounds, producing them over and over until my starter was no longer an issue. Fanny says, time I give to myself in personal development will only have the compound effect when I create a repetitive system and that each of the pillars affect each other. That's a beautiful way of stating it. Thank you, Fanny. Betty says, I permit myself to live energetically every day, every day. Well, we will, or there's one more. Isabel says, focus in developing one pillar. It will weave through all the others. Yes, one pillar developed will affect all the other pillars. I'm going to call a couple of people here. Let's see everyone. Let's see everyone. Right, Shiro, I'm going to start with you. Could you please unmute? Quick reflection from you.
Good evening, Doc. Good morning, family. So I think for me, my biggest takeaway from today's class is, aside from that, being able to create that, how to be able to create agency and deadlines within that personal development space. So finding out how to create kind of a structure that will enable me to have the right energy and to be able to do what I need to do at the right time. Because of course, when you are your own master and your own director answering to yourself, you let yourself get away with murder. Yeah.
That's, I love how you've positioned that one. Yes, we are always getting away with murder. Yeah, it's no, really, we are murdering our destiny by some of the decisions that we make. So I've just seen your message, Florence. I've been calling you Teresa. So I'm gonna have Florence. Do you mind? You give us your reflection, Florence. Teresa, aka Florence Kamau. Go ahead.
Good morning and good evening, Doc. Thanks a lot. I've just been thinking around the key performance indicators that I have for my employers that are very stringent, that I track every morning, every evening. By the time I'm leaving the office, I want to know how I am faring. And I'm just asking myself, what if I had just two for myself that I am faithful to follow through, like the way I do for my employer?
Yeah.
Where would I be? And that for me has sunk. If I was just only to invest 1 hour and be faithful,
Yeah.
and track the progress and do what it takes, the end product would be phenomenal. So the compounding effect for me this morning has sunk. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for reinforcing that idea of KPIs, the key performance indicators. We are the same people who go to Naivasha and spend an entire week sometimes working on the vision and corporate structures for our employer. But there are no corporate structures here. The corporate structure here is called tomorrowitis or somedayitis. It's like someday I'm gonna write this vision. Yeah, like this month has been unpredictable. Just watch me in May. May, my goodness. Just watch me in May. Except sometimes you mean May 2028, not May 2024. Because if you're not intentional, it's time is just going to tick by. I'm only able to work with the people who are on video, so I'm going to Nyambura Nyambura planted her seeds, but then she placed them outside. Just because she's called Nyambura, she thinks when it rains, she's the one who is watering the seeds. Let's have you, Nyambura, but rain on us with your blessings this morning.
I've been marinating on the statement that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And for me, it's very clear that being ready to receive the information, the knowledge that I'm receiving will translate into activity that grows me. The readiness to create a repeatable system of growth is what compounds into habits. That means that I will continuously be self-aware. I will continuously build on the foundations that I want to have. Today's lesson of, just looking at the number of hours you commit to personal growth is really just creating that habit to grow yourself without apology, without feeling that you are guilty. Sometimes, especially as mothers, when you're supposed to be doing something for your children or your family or your work, you start feeling guilty when you sit down to to read and write. But I know when you create that repeatable habit, the family and the people around you, they respect that space. They respect the space that you've grown that. And I feel this student has been so ready for this lesson. It's just time to move. Move is my take home. Move, just move in the direction that I am committed to.
Yeah, thank you. That's a beautiful reflection, and that's a profound reflection. This lesson today is deceptively, it can look deceptively simple. Don't allow that to trick you. If you have time later, you should be able to find time. Especially just watch that segment. I'm going to have to rewatch it to see whether I was able to unpack everything that I was reflecting on, that I've been reflecting on about specifically this lesson and especially tomorrow's segment. So find time to specifically look at that segment. I'll find one person who is not on video. Betty N, are you able to speak? I'll give you the count of 3. I will presume you're not able to. 3, 2, 1. I presume you're not able to speak. Betty B, are you able to speak? 3, 2, 1. Yeah, this is why I generally prefer to call out the people who are on video, because I can see all of you here. Going to Scholastica, I don't think you've spoken here recently. Give us your quick reflection. Scholastica, are you able to speak? Okay, if you're not able, that's all right. Okay. Someone has unmuted. Who is someone want to speak? Let's see.
Good morning,
Betty,
everyone,
yeah, go
and
on. Go ahead.
good evening, Doc.
Good evening.
My takeaway today is
Yes.
that while we are building our foundations, we must embark on making. We must work on our lives. Those that build the foundation, that build every part of our foundation. Like if I talk about let me just talk about one example which you had mentioned earlier about the. I was touched by the research you had done about the strong buildings in the world. So as per today, coming back to the topic of today, I must build a stronger foundation, and the foundation must be well balanced. The ingredients must be well balanced. So I'm claiming all this balancing of the system. I must eat well. I must do the exercises. I must do what is right. I must not take in the junks within my body. And even the people around us, we must not feed them junks, because after a while, they will, all these things that we take in will affect our growth. And we must decide to move on with the speed that is required to make us richer. And as to me, I usually say that the speed at which you run in life depends on what is chasing you. For example, if a lion is chasing you now and somebody else is being chased by a cat, the speed at which you run, both of you run, will be different. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good phrase, except most of the time we don't actually run. We just allow ourselves to be eaten. We have been eaten every day by procrastination. We are being eaten every day by fear of failure, by stagnation, right? So it's the running has to come up with an urgency. So when you create the urgency is what pushes you to actually run. Except when you run, it comes with a bit of almost like you have no control over how far when you're running from something. But if you're running towards, when you're moving towards something else, then you have a bit more control. That's a beautiful reflection. I'm going to have to think about that. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of this daily reset. Do not take this as though don't take it lightly. And I want to make sure that you don't leave here with that level of energy that we are almost beginning to dip. You're like, all right, so now, if you are running, and let me let me not put you all to sleep. So, wishing you a good day. My name is Dr. Mogire from the House of Mastery.